Welcome back to Variety Homestead. Today we're going to show you the John Townsend recipe for mushroom ketchup. This is something that we purchased on Amazon. It comes from England today. The closest thing that we have to it today would be like Worcestershire sauce. And the mushroom ketchup that we got is an English mushroom ketchup, and it does have the faintest hint of Worcestershire sauce, but it's really kind of unique, and we fell in love with it. We saw it as a recipe when we were watching the Townsend's YouTube channel, and it was something we figured we wanted to make. So what we did was we went through the process using two videos that Townsend's released, one about 12 years ago and one last year. First part, maybe April-ish of 2023. And we kind of combined the ingredients. The ingredients were very, very similar. In the second video, he used a recipe out of a period cookbook. In the first recipe, he was in the field and he used very similar ingredients. What we did was we wrote down all the ingredients, and then we picked out the ones that were common to both recipes, and then a couple of other ones that we thought might play well with the spices that went into the process of making the mushroom ketchup. So what you're going to see occurs over a 2-day period, because you have to let the mushrooms in the salt produce the liquid over a 24-hour period. So we did that, and I hope you enjoy watching. And if you did enjoy watching and you want to see more, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and leave a comment below. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great one. So we start with 2 pounds of just plain white button mushrooms, the ones you buy at the supermarket. Debbie's already wiped off several packages. They come in 8-ounce. These came in 8-ounce packages, and she's gonna wipe off just like she did all the other ones. Just, you don't want to wash these mushrooms according to the recipe. You just want to wipe off any exterior dirt or anything that's on them. You really don't. You're not trying to scrub these mushrooms clean. You're just trying to wipe them off as you go along. And then after they're all wiped off, the next phase is that they get chopped up. We're going to chop them up fairly fine so that the idea is the more coarse they are, the less amount of moisture will be extracted from the mushrooms. So we're going to chop them fairly fine. Debbie's either going to crush them up with her hands or use a knife, or she's got a chopper that she uses. Either one. All three will work, just so that you get a fairly good chop on them and get them fairly fine. They don't have to be, minced beyond, you don't have to mince them to powder. Just sort of chop them and you'll be in good shape. Okay, so what Debbie's doing now is she's slicing these things up and putting them into a bowl, just using a regular knife. And these are after they're wiped off and before we chop them up really good. Okay, the mushrooms are all sliced up, roughly sliced. Now Debbie's going to take this thing we have, which is basically a chopper, and she's going to get in there and chop those up finer. But first she's going to add like a 1/4 cup of salt. So this is for 2 pounds of mushrooms. That's 4 8-ounce packages that she got at Aldi's. I think they were like $1.89 a package. And she's mixing all those up, mixing that salt into the whole batch. Pretty good. Make sure you try to get the salt in there really well. And she's crushing them up a little bit as she does it. She's just, kind of like when you do coleslaw or sauerkraut. You just get in there and just crush those things up between your hands and between your fingers, and get them chopped up pretty good and crushed up pretty good, so that salt can start reacting. And then after she does that a little bit, she's going to get in with that chopper. It's just a cheap plastic chopper. You could make one of those out of wood if you were so inclined. Use a good hardwood like a maple or a cherry or something like that to do it with. Actually, you could use pine, a hard pine. Now she's chopping it up a little bit better, a little bit finer. And as I'm looking at it, I can already see the salt starting to react with the mushrooms and start to break them down a little teeny bit. So after she chops that up into a pretty darn good much finer chop, so you can get a better moisture pull out from the mushrooms, so that you'll get more liquid after they sit, and just sort of the salt will extract all of that liquid out. And there's several more steps to this. This actually takes is a 24-hour process, because after she finishes chopping these things up really good, what she's going to do is just basically put a lid on them. You could use a towel, or, this particular bowl has a lid that goes with it. So she's going to put a lid on it, and then we're just going to sit it on the counter for 24 hours, and then we're going to get back to it. So we'll show you the next stage and the next phase of this tomorrow when we pick back up where we left off. So we'll see you tomorrow. She's putting a little plate in there that just sort of, it's not even a real weight, but it just sort of kind of weighs it down. And then the lid. And then, hey, that's all there is to what we're doing now. Thanks for watching. Okay, we're back with the mushroom ketchup Townsend's recipe. We put our mushrooms in with salt yesterday, about 24 hours ago. And now we are 24 hours later, so we're ready to get these in on the stove. So we'll take the mushrooms that are now have a whole lot of liquid in them, and they are, what we're going to do now is we're going to add ingredients to those before we put them on the stove for about 10-15 minutes. So what we got here is a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. We've got 4 peppercorns. We've got 1 medium-sized onion chopped. We've got 1 lemon zest, and it's a pretty large lemon. We've got 1/4 teaspoon of cloves. Now, we did not have minced or crushed or clove powder, so what Debbie did was she smashed up a couple of whole cloves, and that gave us 1/4 teaspoon. We've got 1/3 cup of vinegar, and that's apple cider vinegar, by the way. And we've got 1/2 teaspoon of horseradish. We've got 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and we've got 1 bay leaf. Now, this makes 2 pounds. So we had started with 2 pounds of mushrooms. And all of these ingredients are geared towards that 2-pound recipe. So Debbie's going to go ahead and add all of that stuff in. As John Townsend said, sometimes they wait, some of the older recipes call for it to be wait until the end of the heating up process before you add the ingredients. But we're adding them now because what we're going to do afterwards is we're going to save the mushrooms that are left over, and we're going to make mushroom powder with those. So she's just going to mix all that stuff in there really good, get it all folded in there and get it in really good shape. And then after she does that, she's going to put it in a stock pot, and we are going to put this over the fire, over a medium heat. It doesn't have to boil, but it needs to get to a simmer for about 15 minutes or so. John Townsend said in his first video, 10 to 20 minutes. So these recipe ingredients that we found, what we did was we kind of fell in the middle of most of these recipes ingredients so that we would not overdo it and not underdo it with this. So this will go on the stove for under medium heat till we bring it up to a really good temperature, and we'll let it sit there for just about 15 minutes. So we're going to come back to you as soon as that 15 minutes time period is up. Okay, what we're doing now is we just pulled it off the fire. So what we're doing now is we're pouring it into a strainer, and we're doing that really not, you don't have to do this step, I don't guess, but what we're doing, the step 4 is to drain off as much of the liquid as we can. She's going to strain it really, really good. The second phase of this is after it cools down. So we're trying to cool it down quicker. So after the mushrooms and the liquid cool down some, we're going to take the mushrooms mixture and we're going to put that in a cheesecloth, and then we're really going to crank down on it and squeeze absolutely every drop that we possibly can out of there. And we're going to so that when we bottle it up, it'll be ready to go. Okay, so we're at the stage where the mushrooms and the liquid has cooled off, and what we're going to do now, and Debbie already did a trial run, because cheesecloth, we're using cheesecloth to strain it with, and it's real skinny. So we had to make sort of a cross with it so that we could take and get it wrapped up so that you could actually squeeze it out. But they do have linen cloths. They also have a cheesecloth that is reusable, so you can use that too. So what she's doing now, she's just rolling it all up, getting it all up, and she will begin squeezing all that delicious liquid out there. And we tried it before I resumed filming, and it's really good. Now, it's the closest thing you're going to get to mushroom ketchup today commercially is either a Worcestershire sauce or this stuff that Debbie's showing the bottle of now. That this is actually from Great Britain, and it's labeled as mushroom ketchup. And it's really good too. It's delicious, in fact, but it has a hint of Worcestershire sauce to it. This does not. This does not have a hint of Worcestershire sauce, at least not to me, but it is really, really delicious. I can see this going on just about anything you want to put it on. You could put it on steak, you could put it on pork, chicken, as a you know, like you would do with Worcestershire sauce, or add it in with a lot of things. Now, if you look behind the mushroom ketchup bottle that's sitting there, what you'll see is the squeezings, or what's left over after Debbie squeezed out the mushroom liquid from the first batch. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to spread that out on, and we're going to dehydrate it. The trick there is dehydrate it till it's really seriously dry, even crispy. And then you take that and you crush it up. I mean, you could do like mortar and pestle if you got it. You can just really crush it up really, really good. And it will make what's effectively called mushroom powder. We have not tried that, but it is supposedly delicious. And you can put that on anything. We'll come back to you later in another video and tell you just how that mushroom powder works out. The other thing we did that we didn't show on camera was we picked out all the larger pieces of onions. Anything that got really chopped up in there, is going to be in there. But we picked out all the larger pieces of onions and the bay leaf. Everything else stayed. So, and I can tell you by the preliminary flavor, it's really, really good. So what we're going to do now is, now that the liquid is kind of cooled off and now that the squeezings are out of there, we're going to let those squeezings sit for a little bit. We're going to take the liquid and we're going to put that back on the fire for, anywhere from, I guess the recipe from Townsend's varied a little bit. He said you could do it for 20 to 30 minutes. He said you could do it for longer. Some people do it for an hour or two. And the deal there is supposedly that the longer it's on there, the more concentrated and the thicker that it will actually get. We're not looking for it to be really, really super concentrated, but we are going to try, I think we're going to try to go for about 30 minutes. So the last thing we'll show you is after we put it on the stove and heat it back up to a boil, then we'll crank it down to a simmer, and we'll do that for about 30 minutes. And then the last thing we're going to show is putting it in a bottle, because we're interested to know just how much of mushroom ketchup came out of this 2 pounds of mushrooms. So we'll be back shortly. Okay, we have taken the liquid and we have brought it to a boil, and then a low rolling or simmer for 20 minutes. We compromised to between 15 and 30 minutes on that. And now what Debbie's going to do is she's going to pour this liquid into a sterilized bottle. We've got several of these bottles, and so she's going to pour it in there and get a pint. What it yielded was just a smidge under 2.5 cups. So it should be a pint and then maybe, 4 ounces or so on and so forth. We're not going to waste any of it. We're looking forward to using it very soon. So you don't even have to really refrigerate this stuff. Well, it looks like she got about 99% of it into one bottle. So we'll bottle that up. And according to Townsend's, and it makes sense that if you use a properly sterilized bottle and equipment, that you should be able to get maybe up to 2 years. In our case, that is not going to work because we will not let it last anywhere near that long. We love the stuff. So this is only the first time we've made it, and we tried it, like I said a little bit earlier, and it was fantastic. The mushrooms, leftover mushrooms that you see on the plate, like I said, do not get rid of those. We're going to put those in the dehydrator, get them crispy, and then we're going to pound those things up into as fine a powder as we can get. And you can put that on anything, scrambled eggs, steak, a sandwich, whatever you want. So we'll probably come back and after we've dehydrated those, and do a short video on the results of that and how that worked out. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for visiting Variety Homestead. And if you have a mind to, we'd love it if you would like this video, subscribe to this video, and even leave a comment below if you so desire. So until next time, have a great one, and we'll talk to you later.